Good morning and welcome to the latest in the Tees Valley Big Issue business debates, which is done in conjunction with the Evening Gazette, with the University of Teesside and also with the Institute of Directors in Teesside. This morning we've had a lively and interesting debate about what should the Chancellor be putting in his pre-budget report tomorrow. He's clearly under a lot of pressure to reduce the deficit in the public sector, and there are concerns about creditworthiness of the UK economy. But more than that, what does it mean in Tees Valley? What does it mean for businesses running local organisations? What would we recommend? Would we be looking for more tax, looking for less spending, or looking for a bit of both? And of course, the election is just around the corner. How will that impact on what the Chancellor has to say? Well, here's the views of business leaders in the Tees Valley as to what the Chancellor should be covering in his pre-budget report. You know, imagine yourself, next week you're the Chancellor of the Exchequer, you're standing up to make your autumn statement, and you're thinking about the economy, and you're thinking about the Tees Valley, and you're thinking about your businesses as well, of course, that's entirely all right. What would you do? What would you be saying? What's the number one thing that you would like to hear from the Chancellor next week?
I would like to hear three things.
You can have three, yeah. Okay.
One is to increase household tax allowance so that the less well-off are better off. The converse to that is not to hang about in terms of introducing the higher rate of tax until after the general election, but to introduce it straight away. And I'd like to see a commitment to a significant, I don't know what significant is it 5%, is it 10% cut in public spending?
I think the first thing I would do is to turn to my neighbour, since I'm the Chancellor of the Exchequer, on my right, and say, we do not want a phony war for another 6 months. Call the general election now, so that whoever comes in actually can have 6 months head start on trying to sort out some of the problems.
I would want a cocktail of cuts and increases that will bring in a huge amount of surplus, so we can actually distribute those out to the organisations identified requiring that.
Cuts, I think we do need substantial cuts, because if we don't, the interest rates will go up because our credit rating will be wrong. And we can't be credit rated wrongly as a country, and then everyone has higher interest rates and it all gets worse and worse and worse. Second, tax. We have to pay for the spending, so we pay for it by cutting it and regaining some on tax, I think. So I'd go for a big threshold, maybe £10,000 before you pay tax. I'd also look carefully at hitting wealth creators, the businesses with more tax. I would look to sales tax like VAT personally, because it's an easy way of getting cash through the door. But I wouldn't do any of that without committing to reform of the public sector.
Changing the way the public sector works, giving more responsibility to people in their jobs, so that they have the freedom to make the decisions and get it done without the waste of the multi-agency involvement that there is at the moment. But
I think what I'd like to see is a programme of efficiencies and streamlining in the public sector, and the reinvestment of that money where it's most effective and gives the most impact. But
well, I don't think the government is rushing to a general election, so in the short term I would ask the Chancellor to do as little as possible that may damage what appears to be a fragile recovery, but at least it's stopped getting worse. And we're starting to see some improvement in terms of client activity.
Look for a review on local government finances.
I wholeheartedly agree that we do need to cut the deficit, and that has to be done through spending cuts. But I agree with the more sensible approach of taking almost the brave step of going back to basics in the public sector, removing policy that have just been put one on top of the other, that has made the service inefficient, and make those cuts that way, and reinvest in the strengths of the country, which are its intellectual property, the way we're moving forward in the digital economy, and start to build up on the strengths of the UK economy, which I think within the Tees Valley region, bringing it more locally, we do have an awful lot to offer.